Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos. The main character, after dying, wakes up inside of the Naruto anime. What is he gonna do with 5 different bodies which he all controls? How will the Naruto world react to him?
Burying the bodies. By the time they finished all this, it was already 3 days later. In these 3 days, Uka Shinya also learned about the Akatsuki organization. Besides the leader Yahiko, Rinnegan Nagato, and paper release Conan, the other 4 are Debutsu, Idaten Kyusuke, Okieyu Ryotaro, and Tanaka Haijuki. Moreover, the Akatsuki organization has only been operating for a few months and is currently in a state of having no funds, no territory, and no plan. It has only one great goal: to achieve world peace. Simply put, the Akatsuki organization now is no match for the Akatsuki organization that will be able to withstand the 5 great ninja villages more than a decade later. It is merely a ragtag armed force. Uka Shin wasn't too disappointed about this. If it were the Akatsuki organization more than 10 years from now, he wouldn't be able to join with his current strength, let alone dare to join, or he would be in a hurry to be reincarnated. During this time, Uka Shin also brought Maso and Kani along. With 2 burdens suddenly appearing, Yahiko could only rub his head helplessly, unsure of how to deal with it, while Nagato was overjoyed to see his clansmen. Seeing the 2 children dispelled Conan's suspicions about Uka Shin. Conan once asked Uka Shin about his strength, and Uka Shin replied that he had received training from ninjas, a statement that failed to gain Conan's trust. After all, receiving instruction from a ninja is extremely difficult, and Conan, having experienced it firsthand, knows this very well. However, seeing that Uka Shin was taking care of 2 unrelated children despite the hardships, she finally lowered her guard and gradually accepted him. After settling things in town, the group rested in a house. Uka Shin, showing no awareness of being a newcomer and disregarding his young age, directly discussed the future of the Akatsuki organization with Yahiko and the others. Yahiko, while killing wandering ninjas and protecting ordinary people has some effect, when will we achieve peace? Don't you have any other considerations? You must have noticed in the past that as long as we kill a batch of villains, another batch will appear, just like weeds. If we don't address the root cause, the weeds will never disappear. Uka Shin spoke very rudely, even implying that he was questioning Yahiko, which aroused the dissatisfaction of others. The Buddha leaned against the wall, defending Yahiko. Shin, what we're doing has been quite effective. In the past, we've taken action many times, which has deterred some wandering ninjas. The area we protect hasn't been attacked for a long time. Conan, fiddling with a white paper flower, said, "We've already saved many people. If we continue, we can save many more. Believe me, you shouldn't doubt Yahiko." Hearing their naive and short-sighted words, Uka Shin remained silent for 2 seconds. It was only then that he realized this was not the peaceful world of the past, but a turbulent and bloodthirsty ninja world where compulsory education was non-existent. Yahiko and his 2 companions were originally homeless children who later learned ninjutsu from Jiraiya, although Jiraiya would also teach them some life lessons. But Jiraiya himself was just a ninja who killed people. How could he know anything about politics or economics? How could he see the root cause of the turmoil in the ninja world, let alone teach Yahiko and the others? Therefore, for Yahiko and his group, maintaining peace in the region was the most worthwhile thing they could think of to do. Now that he has joined the Akatsuki organization, Uka Shin naturally wants to help the organization develop better. Otherwise, it would be too foolish to be like in the anime, where someone with great strength is only used by others, fights recklessly, and ends up getting killed. Uka Shin glanced at everyone in the room and sneered. "Heh, I joined you because I heard you wanted to maintain peace, but if you continue like this, you'll only be heading down a dead end. I think I'd better leave sooner rather than later, so I don't get dragged down by you." Chapter 16 Plot. To hell with it. Zin, what nonsense are you spouting? Are you out of your mind? Shut up, Yahiko can't be wrong. Yahiko is indeed very charismatic, and the members of Akatsuki have great faith in him. They were furious when they saw Uka Shin say that Yahiko and Akatsuki had gone down the wrong path. Uka Shin ignored what others were saying, standing quietly on the ground, his eyes fixed on Yahiko. Currently, Yahiko is the core of the Akatsuki organization. If we can persuade Yahiko, it will be the same as persuading the others. During this time, Yahiko dealt with various villains and protected many ordinary people. Seeing the smiling faces and sincere gratitude of those ordinary people, Yahiko felt a great sense of satisfaction. All that had happened in the past had helped Yahiko find his direction in life and the right path. Now he was full of enthusiasm and ready to work hard, but he was also angry when a new recruit doubted him. However, since Yahiko had allowed Uka Shin to join the organization, he would genuinely consider Uka Shin one of his own, so he didn't directly reprimand him, but chose to reason with him. Zin, you've only just joined us, and you don't yet know how great the things we're doing are. In time, when you see those people achieving a stable and peaceful life, you'll understand whether we've made a mistake. Uka Shin retorted directly, Yahiko, I know better than you how noble your ideal of pursuing peace is. Think about it. Since the legendary era, the whole world has been filled with war, death, and slaughter. In just a few decades, the ninja world has experienced 2 world wars, not to mention countless smaller conflicts. For the ninja world, fighting is the norm, and peace is just a temporary illusion. Your desire to achieve peace, even peace in the land of rain, is a sacred and great thing, and it is also my dream. Yahiko sensed Uka Shin's aversion to war and felt a surge of relief. He confidently said, That's right, Shin. War has caused too much sorrow. Many people, like us, yearn for peace, and they will support us. As long as we continue our efforts, more partners will join us, and one day we will achieve peace. Uka Shin, however, remained calm. Yahiko, and everyone else, you don't think that you're the only ones striving for peace throughout all this history, do you? They all failed, so what makes you think you can succeed? Were they less powerful than you, less intelligent than you, or less eager for peace than you? At this point, Uka Shin looked at Nagato, gazing at the Rinnegan, and said, Nagato, do your best to sense things. Do not let anyone eavesdrop. What I am about to say is very important. If outsiders hear it, I will be killed. Oh, is it that serious? Okay, I will. Nagato, who had been standing silently to the side with no presence, was surprised and flustered when Uka Shin suddenly said this, but began to try his best to sense things. The others also realized what was happening. Without Yahiko giving the order, Kyusuke and the others rushed out of the house and set up a perimeter. Inside the room, only Uka Shin, Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato remained. Yahiko frowned, looking at Uka Shin with a serious expression. Shin, what exactly happened? Uka Shin didn't know if Black Zetsu was nearby, or if Black Zetsu could evade Nagato's senses. However, fortune favors the bold, and having encountered such powerful and trustworthy individuals as Yahiko, he decided to take a gamble. If we can gain the trust of the Akatsuki, especially Nagato, we will be able to use the Rinnegan in the future and also use the Akatsuki's power to fight our enemies. If they fail, the worst that can happen is that they'll be kicked out. Given Yahiko and the others' character traits, they shouldn't be able to harm themselves. As for the original plot, to hell with it. Originally, I only came to you for safety, but seeing how genuinely you are helping the residents here, I know you are not people who crave fame or power. In that case, I will tell you the truth. Uka Shin recalled the story he had discussed with Kyosuke and the others over the past few days, and recounted the history of the ninja world, Madara's conspiracy, the Ninja World War, and even information about the Otsutsuki clan. After all, hiding this information would not benefit Uka Shin at all. It would be better to tell him so that Yahiko and the others would be prepared and not be deceived in the future. When one's own strength is insufficient, one must rely on these powerful allies. The stronger the allies, the more benefits Uka Shin will gain. The light streaming in through the window grew dimmer and dimmer until torches were lit in the room, at which point Uka Shin prepared to end the session. Now you understand, right? Whether it's the Sage of Six Paths or the First Hokage and others, they all wanted to end the war. However, one country after another was destroyed, and the world was still full of war. Even chakra, which is meant to make people understand each other, was used as a tool for killing. And the ninja villages that were supposed to end the war instead launched even more terrible wars. Yahiko, I don't deny your sincerity or your strength, but you can't deny the sincerity and efforts of the Sage of Six Paths and the others. They failed, so what makes you think you can succeed? As Uka Shin questioned him, the room fell silent, leaving only the shadows on the walls, their length shifting with the flickering firelight. Yahiko and the others were just young people, and this was the first time they had been exposed to so much information. They were all a little thirsty and didn't know what to say or what to ask. Throughout the magnificent history, so many heroes fought and sacrificed their lives for their ideals. Their vision, strength, and sacrifices were incomparable to those three, yet nothing changed in the end. Those people didn't succeed, so what about us? Will we succeed? The three young people were confused. Achieving peace was so difficult. Were their methods too naive? Were they oversimplifying things? Finally, it was Zyro Nan who spoke first, asking, "How did you know all this?" Of course, Uka Shin wouldn't tell the truth. Instead, he sighed and said, "I can't tell you the reason. Anyway, as your strength increases, you will obtain more information and meet more people. Then you will know the truth. If you don't believe me, I can leave." Yahiko also recovered from his huge shock, walked up to Uka Shin, put his hands on Uka Shin's shoulders, and gave him a bright smile, saying somewhat carefree, "Shin, I can feel your sincerity. You are telling the truth." Uka Shin was speechless. Looking at Yahiko, who had returned to normal, he thought to himself, "Is this Yahiko's character? Even though I was telling the truth, you could at least interrogate me. I even memorized a lot of defenses. If you don't ask, all that memorization will have been for nothing." Seeing Uka Shin's constipated expression, Yahiko burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, Shin, if you made up such a wonderful story just to fool us, I won't be angry because you made it up so wonderfully. Besides, if I don't believe you, what you're saying will only arouse suspicion in others. Either you're an idiot or I'm an idiot. Zin, what you said doesn't really matter. As long as you work hard for our ideals, you are our most reliable partner." Okay, the logic that I'm not a spy, because saying these things suddenly would arouse suspicion isn't entirely wrong. Faced with Yahiko's trust, Uka Shin simply shrugged and then looked at Nagato. Nagato seems a little unable to accept knowing that the Rinnegan belongs to someone else. You should go and comfort him. When Nagato saw the others looking at him with worry in their eyes, he felt a warmth in his heart, but also found it somewhat laughable. It's just that someone installed a pair of eyes on me, and powerful ones at that. I may feel a little uncomfortable, but I won't do anything rash. Why are you all so worried? How fragile do you think I am?" Thinking of all this, Nagato grinned, revealing an ugly smile. "Don't worry, I'm fine." Chapter 17, How to Make Big Money. Zin, since you know so much, you must have your own ideas. My mind is a bit confused right now. Tell me about your plan. Knowing so many earth-shattering secrets, Yahiko's horizons were greatly broadened. He realized that he had indeed thought too simply in the past. Feeling somewhat lost, he could only rub his forehead and want to hear about Uka Shin's plan. Uka Shin's plan was not difficult, and he explained it to me in detail. In any case, the ninja world still respects the strong. If we are not strong enough, let alone maintaining peace and protecting the weak, we will probably be killed by stronger people sooner or later. Although Yahiko and his two companions were kind, they were not naive. Based on their past experiences, they certainly knew the importance of strength, So they all nodded in agreement. Therefore, our core path is to do everything possible to increase our strength. When we have the strength to suppress a city, we can bring peace to that city. When we have the strength to suppress a country, we can bring peace to that country. And when we have the strength to suppress the entire ninja world, we can bring peace to the ninja world. Whoever dares to start a war, we will annihilate them. Conan, however, lacked confidence. Although we have received guidance from Jiraiya Sense and are stronger than ordinary ninjas, there are many people in the ninja world who are stronger than us. How can we become stronger? Yahiko looked at Nagato and said thoughtfully, Shin, do you want to rely on the Rinnegan? Shin nodded. That's right. Although Madara's intentions are sinister, since the Rinnegan is in Nagato's possession, it belongs to Nagato. We must do everything we can to let Nagato obtain the full power of the Rinnegan. Once Nagato has the strength of the Sage of Six Paths, we can deter all the ninja villages and prevent them from easily launching a war. Suddenly burdened with such a heavy responsibility, Nagato felt somewhat at a loss and lacked confidence. I can't do it, that's a sage. How could I possibly do it? Why not give it to Yahiko? Yahiko can definitely do it. Yahiko grinned and reached out to put his arm around Nagato's shoulder. Nagato, we'll have to rely on you from now on. Once you become a sage, we'll be able to realize our dreams. I. Nagato was bewildered and wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Shin. However, I only know the legend of the Rinnegan, not the specific information about it. Therefore, we need to set up a research lab, recruit personnel, and purchase equipment to study the Rinnegan. After all, the Rinnegan is not Nagato's own eye, and forcibly developing it may bring danger to Nagato. Yahiko nodded repeatedly, while Nagato remained silent once again. Since it could help everyone and had a prudent and reliable plan, Nagato didn't want to refuse. At this point, Zyro Nan raised a difficult question. But none of us know how to do this research, and we don't have any money or researchers. Shin waved his hand and said with a smile, This is just a long-term plan. We can take it one step at a time. Besides, it doesn't conflict with your original plan. We can help ordinary people, recruit people, and find ways to accumulate funds. There will be a day when we succeed. That's right, that's right. Let's bring Kyusuke in and discuss it together. After hearing Shin's words, Yahiko seemed to have found a more ambitious ideal and knew the path for the future. Shin immediately objected. Yahiko, there are all sorts of strange ninjutsu in this world. Even the dead can't keep secrets. I think we shouldn't tell them about this, or there's a risk of exposure. However, Yahiko's attitude was firm. I believe you. The Sage of Six Paths, the first Hokage, and others you mentioned are smarter and more powerful than me. The only thing I can compare with them in is my sincere heart. If I hide them from them for the sake of so-called secrecy, I will never have the opportunity to realize my ideals. These words received Nagato Conan's firm support. Shinichi said forget it, that's just how they are. If he really had the character of a ruthless and far-sighted leader, Shinichi wouldn't dare to join him. Sure enough, when the Buddha and the other three were summoned and told these secrets, they were shocked and deeply moved. They knew that any leak of information about the Rinnegan, the origin of chakra, Madara's survival and conspiracy, or Kaguya Otsutsuki's resurrection plan would cause a huge uproar in the ninja world. When Yahiko actually told them this news, all four of them felt their blood boil and their breathing became rapid. Such a leader is worth following to the death. Once they calmed down, they began to rack their brains and offer various suggestions. One person is not wise enough, but two people are wise enough. The four of them actually came up with a lot of useful ideas, and in the end, they made some decisions. We know too little about the ninja world. If this information is leaked, the consequences could be good or bad. After all, we can't imagine that the great ninja villages are like us. They might revive the Ten Tails or even break the seal on Kaguya Otsutsuki for their own benefit. We also need to expand our organization. Like-minded and strong individuals can become core members. In addition, we need to recruit a large number of peripheral personnel to gather information and find funding. I know a canyon with a strategic location, surrounded by towns and rivers, which can serve as our base. If Ban contacts us, we should not rashly confront him. We can pretend we don't know about their plans and try to stall them for time. I know some rain ninja who also despise killing. I can find an opportunity to contact them and get them to join us and provide information about the rain ninja. This is the advantage of having companions. Things that are difficult for Uka Nobu can be solved by working together. Otherwise, finding reliable people would take a huge amount of time. Everyone here is a person with firm beliefs. Once they've planned out their future path, they'll immediately put it into action. The next day, they left to scout the canyon and sent Kyusyuk to contact the rain ninja they knew. There were also some minor incidents. Kyusyuk and the others secretly told Yahiko that Uka Shin's background was mysterious and hoped that Yahiko would be wary of Uka Shin. In his dream that night, Uka Shin told everyone about the Akatsuki organization. Everyone scratched their heads, speculating about the various possible future directions. Then they exchanged the ninjutsu and taijutsu they had learned before logging off to sleep. In the land of lightning, Kiyokaro stood outside the mine, watching the miners extract cartloads of ore, lost in thought. Although the mine has good reserves and provides a stable daily income, enough for Kiyokaro to live a wealthy life, this money is far from enough to satisfy his grand ambitions. How to make more money is a headache for Kiyokaro. Although Kyosuke and the others have offered many suggestions, he still has to decide what to do. Young master, it's lunchtime. Butler Mikuri Tomokazu walked up behind Kiyokaro and whispered a reminder. Kiyokaro nodded, muttering to himself, "Yeah, everyone needs to eat. Why not start with the restaurant business? It requires little investment, pays off quickly, and won't attract the attention of powerful forces." Chapter 18, First Meeting. In this world, industries such as weapons, medicine, and gold exchange are the most profitable industries outside of the ninja villages, and they are also Onyakaro's future goals. Unfortunately, these industries are backed by powerful forces, and the weak Kiyokaro is not qualified to participate. The fact that he can protect the mines from being robbed shows that the land of lightning has good public security. If he forcibly participates in the exorbitant profits, he will definitely be wiped out. Therefore, Kiyokaro first needs to conduct market research to avoid being foolishly scammed. After entrusting the mining to his butler, Mikuri Satoshi, Kiyokaro went to a nearby large town and began staking out a restaurant. This restaurant has 3 floors, is quite large, and has a high customer flow, so it should be able to make a lot of money. It's exactly the kind of restaurant that Kiyokaro imagined. The restaurant didn't close until 3 a.m. Onyakaro used Shadow Clone Jutsu to lure away the 2 ninjas guarding the place, while he, masked, sneaked in and subdued the restaurant owner. "The money is in the box. Don't kill me, don't kill me." The shopkeeper, thinking he had encountered robbers, stared in terror at the blade in front of him and revealed where he hid his money. To be honest, Kiyokaro was somewhat tempted by the quick money from robbery, but considering that even powerful organizations like Akatsuki and the 5 great ninja villages could only make money by following the rules, it was clear that robbery was a high-risk, low-return industry. If you dared to rob, others would dare to hunt you down, and the more you robbed, the more ruthless the pursuit would be. In any world, the richest person is never a robber. After a moment's thought, Kiyokaro suppressed the urge to rob him and deliberately changed his voice, saying, "Tell me, who's your backer? How much money do you need to pay?" The boss answered every question. "We have to pay 1/5 of our income to Tagawa Ryose every month." Tagawa Ryose is a man of Nishio Teiki, the minister of the land of lightning, and the ninjas here are also sent by them. Nishio Teiki is a trusted minister of the daimyo of the Land of Lightning, responsible for the country's internal affairs and taxation. Kiyakairo had heard of this name. As expected, with the Cloud Ninja in charge, the daimyo government of the Land of Lightning is quite powerful. Merchants have to find a powerful figure to protect them. Things like Gato controlling the Land of Waves, as depicted in the manga, will not happen in the Land of Lightning. Where do you source your ingredients? Who are their backers? Ordinary ingredients are bought from the market, but expensive, high-quality seafood must be purchased from the Matsushita Trading Company, whose backer is the Lord of Blackrock City. Blackrock City is not far from here. It is a seaside city with excellent bays and well-equipped docks, and there are plenty of seafood every day. It seems that the nearby fishing industry has been consolidated. Small restaurants with low profits can buy ingredients without anyone interfering, but large taverns have to buy ingredients from the Matsushita Trading Company, or they will not have a good outcome. We can't just kill everyone in the Merchant Guild, can we? What about the city lord behind them? Should we kill him too? What about the people behind the city lord? Were they killed too? This killing spree will continue indefinitely. Eventually, someone will be unable to defeat the opponent and will be killed. After asking a few more questions and learning about the various stakeholders in the restaurant industry, Hikaru sheathed his sword and left. In short, the market in the Land of Lightning is saturated, and all the interests are occupied by various parties. Not to mention whether Kiyakaro can join in. Even if he does, he will be exploited layer by layer. He works hard, but most of the benefits go to others. It seems like I should go abroad. Small countries have small markets, but the vested interests there are also weak. Whatever I earn is all mine. After investigating and returning home, Oniakaro looked at the map and then at the moon country next to the Land of Lightning, feeling that it was worth a try. Young master, you must come back safely. One morning, Mikuri Tomokazu looked ahead with reluctance as Kiyakaro's figure slowly disappeared into the distance. At this time, Kyosuke was also heading towards the Land of the Moon. After a series of missions, Class 19 is now in a period of rest. Kyosuke has taken on a mission to go to the Moon Country to meet up with Oniakaro and help him gain a foothold there. If even the two of them can't stand firm together, then there's nothing they can do. Kiyakairo can only return to the Land of Lightning to earn some money and wait until he's stronger before venturing out again. Kyosuke's mission is to deal with the wild beasts in a village in the Land of Fire. The beast was a wolf with some chakra. Kyosuke easily dealt with the wolf through schemes and traps and headed towards the Land of the Moon. Finally, a few days later, he met Kiyakairo. Although they saw each other every day in their dreams, this was the first time they had met in real life. Kyosuke laughed and said, "You really are fair-skinned and chubby. Your temperament doesn't match your name at all. Besides, it'll be hard to find a girlfriend if you don't lose weight." Oni Akiro patted the bundle behind him. "Enough nonsense. I brought all the money this time. If we fail, we'll really have to resort to robbery. Pay attention." "What are you planning to do? I can't stay away from the village for too long." "I've found out. There's a restaurant in the town ahead that's on the verge of bankruptcy. I'm going to buy it today." Kyosuke looked at Kiyakaro and gestured with his hands to indicate the size of Kiyakaro's head. "You've got a big brain, haven't you? Is it filled with mush? Someone else's restaurant couldn't stay open and you just took over. Where did you get your confidence?" Kiyakairo chuckled. "You don't know, there's only one restaurant in the whole town. It used to do very well, but a while ago a few ninjas came here and made things difficult for the restaurant, ruining it. I guess someone has their eye on the restaurant and wants to find an opportunity to take it over. I'm going to intercept them." Upon hearing that there were ninjas, Kyosuke became serious. "How strong are they? If they have the strength of Jonin, we are no match for them." Kiyakaro said confidently, This is a small town with only 2 or 3 thousand people. Guys who have the money to hire Jonin won't want to come here. That makes sense. Kyosuke thought about it and agreed, then asked, "You're not really going to go into the restaurant business, are you?" Kyokairo shook his head. Of course not. The hotel is just the beginning. It's mainly for practice and building a network of relationships. We'll transform the business once we have a solid foundation. In any case, the increase in wealth must match our strength, otherwise we won't be able to hold on to it even if we make a lot of money. After discussing it for a while, Onyekaro went to the restaurant owner to propose buying the restaurant, while Kyosuke hid in the shadows to protect Onyekaro. The restaurant owner had been losing money these past few days, so distressed that he was pulling his hair out every day and was almost bald. Now that Kyokairo was offering a fair price to buy the restaurant, the owner naturally agreed. After giving instructions to his employees and completing the formalities, the boss left immediately. During this process, Kyosuke discovers a ninja monitoring the restaurant. Seeing that Kyokairo wanted to buy the restaurant, the ninja immediately left and headed towards a residential house. Kyosuke created a shadow clone and followed him. Damn it, we were about to succeed, and it was ruined by a little brat. Damn it. Boss, just kill them. We can't take this anymore. There are no other ninjas here. We're the bosses. Chapter 19, 2 versus 1. Boom. The leader of the ninja group slammed his hand on the wall, causing it to shake violently and crack. Seeing their leader unleash his power, the ninjas fell silent. You bunch of idiots, all you ever think about is killing people. Do you really want to lure the Cloud Ninja into slaughtering you all before you're satisfied? The leader was a rogue ninja from the grass village. He had survived countless hunts and killed his pursuers, but he knew that one day he would be killed. By chance, he was recruited by the Mist Ninja and sent to infiltrate the land of the moon to gather intelligence on the Cloud Ninja. In the leader's eyes, he is now just a pawn of the Mist Ninja, or even a discardable piece that can be abandoned at any time, which is truly pathetic. But in order to gain the protection of the Mist Ninja, he had no choice. By demonstrating his strength, the leader suppressed the unrest among his subordinates. So what if a buyer appears? We'll keep making trouble, poison the food, release insects and rats, and they'll still fail. The restaurant will still be ours in the end. Outside the house, Kyosuke's shadow clone hung upside down on the eaves, quietly gathering information by looking at the interior through the window. There are 8 ninjas in total, and no shadow clones have been discovered so far, indicating that their strength is not particularly great. Sensing that his chakra was running low, the shadow clone released its seal and disappeared, while Kyosuke's main body obtained the information he wanted. Kyokairo was checking the accounts on the second floor when Kyosuke appeared in the shadows and relayed the information. Are they backed by the Mist Ninja? Then there's no future trouble. The Moon Country is seen as prey by the Cloud Ninja, and they won't tolerate the Mist Ninja's audacity here. So as long as the Mist Ninja doesn't want to start a war, they won't make any big moves. Otherwise, they wouldn't have supported a rogue ninja as a proxy. Kyosuke shared the same idea. So, as long as we eliminate them cleanly and efficiently without causing a major disturbance, we won't attract the interference of the Cloud Ninja. What kind of weapons do you have? If setting traps can reduce the risk, that would be great. Kyosuke was still a miserable genin with little money. His only weapons were kunai, shuriken, and wire, which prevented him from setting up powerful traps. Kyokairo took out 10 explosive tags and 2 bottles of poison. Explosive tags are too noisy. Let's use poison first. Kyosuke took 3 explosive tags for self-defense, and then the 2 set off to set up a trap. Damn it, the leader is too cowardly. He even claims to be a Jonin of the Grass Ninja. I think he might be lying. Yeah, it would be great to just loot this place. We could definitely make a lot of money. As evening fell, 2 ninjas, dressed as ordinary people, walked along the deserted alley, cursing and swearing. They looked at the shops on both sides of the street and the women on the street with greedy expressions. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." Just then, a child carrying a basket of apples accidentally bumped into one of them. Seeing the two men's fierce expressions, the child was so frightened that he almost cried and kept thanking them. "You brat, you're asking for it." A ninja in a bad mood kicked the child, sending him flying several meters before he collapsed to the ground and vomited, scattering apples all over the floor. The ninja was still not satisfied and was about to kill someone to vent his anger when another ninja persuaded him. "Forget it, the boss doesn't allow trouble. Have an apple to calm down." It must be said that the apples on the ground were red and big, and they even gave off a sweet smell. The two ninjas were tempted when they saw them and picked up 2 apples to eat. In this world, being able to avoid going hungry is considered middle class. Meat and fruit are luxuries, so these two ninjas didn't feel ashamed to steal an apple. The crisp fruit flesh burst open, and the juice flowed down their esophagus into their bodies. The two ninjas felt a surge of pleasure and were even a little lightheaded. Before they could react, they collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Kyosuke stopped pretending to vomit and went forward to finish them off with a knife. This was his and Onyakaro's plan, to silently kill lone ninjas, reduce their numbers, and then launch a final assault. At the same time, a ninja was in the wilderness, wielding a long sword and repeatedly making slashing motions. Suddenly, he heard a whooshing sound behind him. He turned around and slashed, knocking away 2 shurikens. "Who goes there?" The ninja shouted and was about to fire a signal flare to summon his comrades when suddenly his footing gave way, and he was pulled into the ground and killed with a single blow. Kyosuke wiped the blood off his sword and ran off in another direction. Kyosuke and Kyosuke arrived outside the courtyard. Their blades had already been coated with poison. Although they had taken down 3 enemies, the remaining 5 remained together, giving them no opportunity to attack. They had no choice but to launch a direct assault. Shadow Clone Technique. Kyosuke and Kyosuke each used their shadow clones, and the 2 shadow clones, each covered in explosive tags, jumped into the courtyard. Soon, the sounds of fighting erupted in the courtyard, and Kyosuke and Kyosuke silently observed the battle. Taking advantage of the surprise attack, the 2 shadow clones killed 2 enemies before being killed by the remaining 3. Before dying, they detonated explosive tags, and in 2 huge explosions, flames and heat waves engulfed the remaining enemies. Is it resolved? It seems not. Kyosuke looked at the flames in the courtyard and saw a figure rush out of the flames. It was the leader. The leader's clothes were badly torn and sparked, and he had many wounds on his body, but he didn't care. He charged at Kyosuke with a kunai in hand, and Kyosuke didn't fight back, but kept retreating. Wind release, great breakthrough. Kyosuke formed hand seals, and a strong wind blew towards the leader. The leader had no choice but to stop chasing Kyosuke and jump back 2 steps to avoid the strong wind, but he smelled a sweet fragrance. There's poison in the wind. The leader's expression changed, and he immediately held his breath. At this moment, Kyosuke and Onyakaro launched fierce attacks from the front and back. At this moment, the surrounding air was filled with poisonous gas. Kyosuke and Onyakaro had taken the antidote and could ignore the effects of the poisonous gas, but the leader could only endure it. The leader held his breath to fight off the poison gas while simultaneously battling the attacks of the 2 men. Although he was holding his own, he would surely die if this continued for too long. He wanted to disperse the poison gas, but he didn't know how to use wind magic, so he deliberately created an opening, pretending to be exhausted and about to collapse, in order to attract Kyosuke and the other 2 to attack, and then trade his injuries for his life to eliminate an enemy. However, Kyosuke and Onyakaro were very cautious. Their constant attacks were only to wear down the leader's stamina. They would be even better if they could inflict small wounds. They did not care about any openings and were determined to wear down the leader. In a short while, 2 wounds appeared on the leader's arm. Although they were just cuts and did not affect his combat ability, he felt a tingling sensation in the wounds and some redness. His mood became even heavier, knowing that the opponent's weapon was also poisoned. We can't delay any longer. Fire release, Hazuki flame technique. The leader opened his mouth and spat out green flames, creating a large ring of fire around him, which directly forced Kyosuke and Oniakairo back. Then he rushed out of the courtyard and headed out of the town. Chase, Kyosuke said fiercely, his clothes torn at the chest, revealing a shallow wound from which bright red blood flowed. He hadn't expected his opponent to be so strong. Explosive tags and poison couldn't kill him, and the opponent had almost killed him in the brief exchange. If it weren't for Kyosuke's timely rescue, the kunai would have pierced Kyosuke's heart. Chapter 20, Practical Training. On the wasteland, 3 figures chased each other relentlessly. Before long, due to the enemy being poisoned and injured, their speed gradually decreased, and Kyosuke and Oniakairo successfully intercepted the enemy. Damn brat, I have the Mist Ninja behind me. If you kill me, you will be relentlessly hunted down by the Mist Ninja and will not be able to escape death in the end. You might as well let me go, and I will definitely not take revenge. The leader felt his strength draining away, and the wound was becoming numb, with the numbness spreading further, the effect of toxins spreading through his body. The leader, like a dying beast, roared loudly with blood dripping from his mouth, threatening his opponents with words, as if this could bring him a sense of security. Okay, put down your weapon and leave your valuables, and we'll let you go. Kyosuke chuckled softly, his calm voice filled with sincerity, while simultaneously shooting out a shuriken. At the same time, Oniakairo rushed forward, his short sword blade gleaming coldly, aiming directly at the leader's heart. You cunning brat! The leader cursed angrily, dodged the shuriken, and used a kunai to block Oniakairo's blade. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. Looking down, he saw that the sword had pierced through his chest, and bright red blood was slowly dripping from the tip of the blade. Kyosuke drew his sword, glanced at the corpse on the ground, and then looked at Kyokairo. The problem is solved. I need to get back to Konoha. Goodbye. After saying that, Kyosuke left. Kyokairo disposed of the enemy's corpses to minimize any potential trouble, then returned to the tavern to begin his work. First, he chose a name for the tavern. Kyokairo named it after his own surname, calling it Kurosaka Tavern No. 1, hoping to open branches all over the Naruto world in the future. The tavern has 2 floors. Oniakairo spent money to hire carpenters to renovate it and bought some sculptures and paintings to incorporate the style of his previous life. The first floor is the main hall, and the second floor has private rooms. There is also a stage in the lobby, where artists can be invited to perform in the future. Finally, Kyokairo rehired his employees. The chef needs to be excellent, and the receptionist needs to be pretty. After doing all this, the butler, Tomokazu Mikuri, brought good news. The family's money was all gone. Kyokairo rubbed his forehead helplessly. Oh dear, my grand ambitions have only taken a centimeter's step before being strangled by this barren life. In the days that followed, Oniakairo could only slowly build up his capital by running the tavern while simultaneously strengthening his training. On the vast ocean, my shoe sat on a ship, his pale blue eyes gazing at the calm sea. At this time, Kirigakyo was known as the village of blood mist, not only ruling internally with oppressive policies, but also managing the ninja academy with extreme cruelty. Although they had only studied for a few months, my Shu and his cohort of students were about to undergo brutal elimination-style combat training. On this ship are all Misato's classmates, who will soon become his mortal enemies. In the distance, an island appeared on the sea. The island has a range of rolling hills that rise like a spine, covered with lush, dense vegetation. Upon reaching the island's shore, Suaitsu Hobotsuki's long orange hair danced in the wind, resembling a ferocious, venomous snake. Suaitsu Habuki is one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He is a highly respected jonin in the village and is currently in charge of the school. This combat training was personally organized by him. Hey, hey, hey. Suaitsu Hazuki stood at the bow of the ship, carrying the enormous Samehada on his back. His thick arms were crossed over his chest, and his gaping mouth revealed 2 rows of sharp teeth. His cold gaze swept over the students on the ship. For the next 5 days you will fight here. After 5 days, I will come back and take away 100 survivors. Only 100. The students reacted in various ways upon hearing what Suaitsu Hobotsuki said. Some people were terrified. There were more than 200 students here, and the meaning of the watermelon mountain pufferfish demon was that more than half of them would die. Some people sneered and began to look at their classmates, searching for their prey. Others remained calm, not revealing their inner turmoil. However, intimidated by the ruthless aura of Suaitsu Hobotsuki, no one dared to utter a sound, and even those with problems in their hearts could only keep them to themselves. Momori leaned silently against the ship's railing, touched the knife pouch at his waist, and drew the short sword from his back. You are afraid? Zabuza stood beside Mikami, a cold voice emanating from his mouth beneath the bandages. Yes, the world is so beautiful. I don't want to die here at the hands of these brats. As my shoe answered, he glanced around and, sure enough, saw some ill-intentioned glances. Some of the gazes came from classmates he had beaten up, while others came from classmates who were stronger. I heard that some ninja clans are planning to join forces to kill you, and they invited me yesterday. Zabuza revealed some information. Oh, my shoe chuckled softly. For those ninja clans, knowing about this training in advance was quite easy. He didn't ask why, since he was going to kill people anyway. Killing this promising commoner ninja himself was no problem at all. Mikami was simply curious as to why Zabuza was asking him these questions. You're not going to team up with me, are you? Zabuza paused for a moment before replying. My goal is to become one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, so I must demonstrate my worth. The heads of these ninja clan members are my best stepping stones. We can kill them all. Zabuza's goal was to kill the younger generation of these ninja clans, surpass everyone else, and gain the village's favor. As for the fact that doing so would incur the wrath of the ninja clan and could lead to countless future troubles, Zabuza didn't care at all. Shall we team up with Zabuza? My shoe analyzed the situation for 2 seconds and then decisively refused. I don't trust you, and I can't entrust my back to you. My shoe also had another reason he couldn't say. His true strength still needed to be hidden. If you become Zabuza's ally, Zabuza's keen observation skills might allow him to discover that Yasuo is hiding his strength, which could pose a hidden danger. For Misato, this training was not difficult and did not require him to team up with anyone. After being rejected, Zabuza made no comment and walked away in silence. At this moment, the boat stopped in the shallow water, and Suaitsu Habatsu said calmly, "Disembark." Although it is a shallow area, the water is still 3 to 5 meters deep. Even if a student who is not strong can swim, he may give others an opportunity to take advantage of him and be easily killed. Sure enough, the stronger students jumped off the ship and rushed toward the island, preparing to take up good positions to avoid being attacked, while also looking for opportunities to attack others. Even more remarkably, my shoe witnessed several students walking directly through the water. Meanwhile, some weaker individuals hesitated, not daring to go into the water immediately, and even planned to wait until the main group left before rushing onto the island to reduce the chance of being attacked. Seeing the hesitant students, Watermelon Pufferfish Demon snorted coldly. Several of his subordinates walked towards the students, throwing one in each hand and kicking one in each foot, driving the students into the sea. My shoe jumped off the boat immediately. He could already walk on the water, but in order to conceal his inexplicable strength, he chose to swim. Like a nimble shark, he powerfully cut through the sea and rushed towards the nameless island with the waves behind him. Chapter 21, Day 1. The seawater was cool, but not icy. My shoe stretched out his limbs and swam quickly toward the island, which was only a dozen meters away. He would reach it in a moment, while cautiously observing his surroundings. Sure enough, out of the corner of his eye, my shoe saw a person walking on the sea and rushing straight towards him. The blood successor, Limit Ninja. The boy who arrived had short black hair, and there was a faint mist surrounding him. Mikami remembered that the other person's name was Okui Atsushi, and he belonged to a certain ninja clan with a bloodline limit. However, the two were in different classes, and Mikami did not know the other person's abilities. Haha, my shoe, I know you, you arrogant guy. Now I'll show you what true power is. Atsushi Okui had no intention of fighting on the island. Instead, he planned to begin eliminating the enemy in the sea. After all, he can walk on water, which gives him a huge advantage in fighting here. Not only him, but the other people who were capable of walking on water also began to hunt, with screams coming from all around and blood blooming on the sea surface. Seeing the other party's arrogant appearance, my shoe only glanced at him and then ignored him, instead increasing his swimming effort as he continued to swim towards the island. Damn it, how dare they ignore me? Seeing that he was being ignored, Atsushi Okui became even angrier. He formed a hand seal, and the mist around him began to condense into 5 shuriken, which he then shot at Mikami. Hearing the whooshing sound behind him, my shoe dove into the sea. The shuriken made of mist struck the surface of the sea and turned into a pale blue liquid. At this moment, only 3 to 5 meters from the beach, the water had become very shallow, and my shoe lightly leaped ashore. Just as he reached the shore, Memori rolled to the side, dodging the shuriken behind him once again, and looked at Atsushi Okui, who had jumped ashore. The mission has only just begun. There's no need for us to fight to the death. Seeing that Mikami easily dodged his attacks twice, Okui Atsushi felt extremely ashamed and angry. At this moment, seeing Mikami's somewhat timid words, he felt that he had a great advantage and wanted to kill Mikami completely. He had no intention of stopping the fight. Go to hell. Atsushi Okui formed hand seals, consuming a large amount of chakra, and dozens of shuriken shot out from the mist around his body towards Mikami, attempting to block Mikami's movement range. Seeing that the shuriken's attack range was too large, and that he was attacked from all sides, my shoe could only leap high into the air. A great opportunity. Atsushi Okui was overjoyed to see Yamori leap into the air. What seemed like a safe place in the air was actually a trap he had deliberately set. Water whip. Atsushi Okui formed hand seals again, and a lazy water whip condensed from the mist. It wrapped around Mikami's legs at an extremely fast speed, throwing Mikami to the ground. At the same time, he rushed forward, and taking advantage of Mikami's unsteady stance, stabbed Mikami in the chest with a kunai. It's solved. This brief battle consumed a large amount of Atsushi Okui's chakra, but Atsushi felt it was all worth it because he had killed his opponent. Next, the hunt begins, and the prey is killed one by one. Okui Atsushi was immersed in a beautiful fantasy when he suddenly saw Yamori's body begin to melt, turning into a puddle of seawater that fell to the ground. At this moment, Mikami was already behind Okui Atsushi, and with a slash of his short sword, he beheaded him. Throughout the battle, Misato only expended a little energy while swimming and used a little chakra to create a water clone. He was in excellent condition. With a flick of his wrist, he flung the blood off the blade and looked around. Are you all looking for death too? Several people who had intended to ambush him glanced at Atsushi Okyui's corpse, and then at Yamori's calm demeanor, and silently left. It's only just begun. There's no need to fight to the death with others. Otherwise, even if we win, excessive consumption of resources could leave us vulnerable to a sneak attack. On the beach, most people didn't linger and rushed straight to the hills and dense forests of the island. There weren't actually many people fighting. Having confirmed his safety, my shoe rushed into the dense forest, and soon the beach disappeared behind him. Although the island is not large, it seems quite vast for a mere 200 people. Once inside the dense forest, all that could be seen were tall trees, thick vines, and moss-covered rocks. No human figure could be seen in sight. This does not mean it is safe. Soon the forest will be full of traps, and someone could be killed in the blink of an eye. My shoe jumped onto a tree branch, looked at the sun through the gaps between the leaves, and determined the time and direction. It's noon now, and we still have to stay here for 5 days. We need to find a base. The hills on the island are shaped like a saddle, with slightly higher sides. Logically, a high vantage point should offer a panoramic view and allow for early detection of enemy activity, making it a good location. But there must be quite a few people with this idea. To gain the high ground, you have to fight fiercely, which is quite risky. My shoe thought for a moment. This was just a student combat training exercise. If he had to avoid it, he would be helpless when facing more intense battles in the future, or even the ninja war with corpses strewn across the land. All right, let's have a good killing spree. Not only will it hone our combat instincts, but it will also attract the attention of the higher-ups. Kyosuke and the others are all ambitious, and I can't be a coward. Having made up his mind, my shoe continued to leap forward from tree to tree, maintaining a relatively wide field of vision while avoiding potential traps on the ground, heading towards the eastern hills. While on alert for attacks, Memori was also carefully observing his surroundings. Collect various environmental information, such as the types of trees and flowers, the types of birdsong, and the soil texture. If an unusual environment appears, it could be an enemy disguise. After walking for about an hour, my shoe only encountered 2 enemies. However, the enemies did not attack but left silently, which showed that they were not strong and did not have the confidence to deal with my shoe. As time went by, Mikami climbed up the rolling hills, where the terrain became increasingly higher. The huge rocks became more numerous, and the tall trees became slightly fewer. Suddenly, my shoe jumped onto a rock and stopped. The birdsong had died down, and there was an ambush. My shoe remained on guard, scanning his surroundings and silently searching for possible enemy attacks and retreat routes should the battle go badly. After a while, it is possible that my shoe discovered the trap, so the people lying in ambush came out. There were 3 of them in total. The one in the lead was a boy with short green hair, and the 2 next to him were obviously his subordinates. The green-haired boy glanced at my shoe and laughed. He, as expected of a genius among commoners, you actually dared to come to the high ground of the hills alone. But this is where it ends. Meeting me is your greatest misfortune. Memori thought for a moment and said softly, You're from the Kurosu family, right? What's your name again? I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. A dead man's name is worthless. What an arrogant guy. I hope you won't be screaming later. Hurry up and kill him. I'll protect you so you can survive. Enraged by my shoe's arrogant attitude, the green-haired youth was about to order his men to launch an attack. Chapter 22, Garbage Chapter. Do you also yearn for death? He pointed his short sword diagonally at the ground, his eyes fixed on the 2 henchmen. His gaze was like the blade in the cold wind. The 2 henchmen felt a chill on their necks, as if they were about to be beheaded. They couldn't help but take a step back, their hearts filled with horror. What's going on? The other party is just a student. How can they have such a strong, murderous aura? One of the henchmen hesitated and looked at his leader. Lord Kuroko, no, Ryuichi. Maybe we should just give up. He's not easy to deal with, and we don't need to fight him. Another henchman immediately chimed in. Yes, yes, there are lots of weaklings on the island. We can hunt them down. What a cowardly piece of trash. When Kurosu Ryuichi saw that his men were frightened by a single glance from Mikami, he became furious and raised his blade to threaten them. Either kill him, or I'll kill you all. The two henchmen glanced at Kurasuke Ryuichi's sword, which was crackling with electricity, and swallowed hard. They could only pick up their weapons and muster their courage to face Momori. Come on! With a shout, Kurosu Ryuichi's two henchmen charged at Mikami from the left and right, launching a pincer attack. You're courting death. My shoe snorted coldly, lowered his body slightly, gathered his strength in his legs, stomped the ground hard, and charged to the left, his short sword flashing upwards. Blood splattered, staining the earth red. The opponent was cleaved in two from the left waist to the right shoulder, falling to the ground and dying in agony. How is that possible? The other henchman was horrified by his companion's fate and didn't care about Kurasuke Ryuichi's threat. He turned to run away, but he was too slow. Just as he turned around, Mikami was behind him and took his life with a single slash. Pa, what a useless piece of trash. When Kurosu Ryuichi saw his men being killed, he showed no sadness, but rather disgust and loathing. He originally intended to use his subordinates to test my shoe's strength and exhaust his stamina, hoping to create an opportunity to ambush him. Unfortunately, his two subordinates were easily killed and did not serve any purpose. Ninja art, hidden mist technique. Kurasuke Ryuichi used ninjutsu, and a thick fog gradually rose around him. Before long, Mikami could only see the environment 2 or 3 meters in front of him, and everything else was covered by the ethereal fog. My shoe narrowed his eyes slightly, looked around, his muscles tense, and held his short sword horizontally in front of him, like a tiger on the hunt, ready to strike and kill at any moment. Although he had studied the hidden mist technique, and as a member of the hidden mist village, Mikami had gained some understanding of it through gossip from those around him. The hidden mist technique is not just a ninjutsu that condenses mist. It also includes related taijutsu and ninjutsu. For example, moving through fog without causing abnormal movement of the fog around your body, spotting enemies in fog, and concealing your own location and the location of your voice. Without mastering these abilities, even if fog is condensed, it will be difficult to create a favorable battlefield environment. Although I learned the art of concealing mist from Kyosuke, I can only use it, and I haven't mastered the tricks of it. Fortunately, the enemy is just a student. I don't believe he can kill people silently in the mist like the adult Zabuza. There must be a weakness in his defenses. My shoe calmed his mind, his breathing became even, his eyes looked at the surrounding mist, his ears caught every sound, and his skin felt the slightest movement of air. Suddenly, in my shoe's peripheral vision, an arc of electricity flashed, the slight crackling sound of the arc standing out starkly in the silent yet tense battlefield. This is not a decoy, not a clone, it's a real attack. In an instant, my shoe reached a conclusion, turned around abruptly, and held the short sword upright in front of him. Choke! Amidst the crackling of electric arcs, the sound of the two swords clashing was exceptionally jarring. Mikami's sword blocked Kurasuke Ryuichi's blade. The blade exerted considerable force, which surprised Mikami slightly. However, he stepped back with his right foot and leaned forward, steadily blocking the impact without taking a step back. At the same time, Mikami glanced at Kurasuke Ryuichi's legs and found that there were faint arcs of electricity flashing on his legs. It was clear that the leg muscles had been stimulated with lightning chakra, temporarily enhancing his strength. What an amazing guy. Is this the foundation of the ninja clan? You are stronger than I thought. It's a pity you ran into me." After a brief exchange, my Shu had a rough idea of his opponent's strength, which made him more composed. He even had the leisure to use words to disturb his opponent's mind. Damn it! His all-out attack was blocked. Despite using his maximum strength, it was as if he had hit a mountain and had no effect. Kurasuke Ryuichi was both shocked and furious. Hearing the contempt in Mikami's words, he wished he could tear Mikami to pieces. "Even if you can't kill me with one blow, at least dodge and give me a chance to attack. Even if you don't avoid it, at least make some noise so I can put pressure on you. Even if you're not flustered, you don't need to have such a calm look in your eyes or such a composed voice. I'm going to kill you, you damn bastard." However, despite his burning rage, Kurasuke Ryuichi retained a sliver of clarity, forcefully suppressing his anger. After his attack failed, he immediately retreated and disappeared into the mist once more. He could see that my Shu was stronger than him in strength, speed, reaction time, and even swordsmanship. However, my Shu clearly lacked a deep understanding of the hidden mist technique and was only relying on physical skills to withstand the attacks. Don't panic. The situation is in your favor now. As long as you keep attacking in the thick fog, you will eventually achieve results. While Kurasuke Ryuichi was mentally preparing himself and calming his anger, Momori made a new move. Water clone technique. My Shu calmly formed hand seals and slowly recited the ninjutsu he was using. Two identical clones appeared beside him. I slowed down the hand seals and even revealed the name of the ninjutsu. Even though you're not very strong, you should be able to see it clearly. The three guardians stood back to back, facing three different directions, and their voices continued to emanate. Two water clones appeared before your eyes. You should know which one is the real body, right? You haven't fallen into my trap. However, are the water clones really clones, and is the real body the real body? Ninjas are synonymous with cunning. Perhaps my lies are full of lies. The sound gradually spread through the mist, seemingly carrying an invisible pressure that weighed heavily on Kurasuke Ryuichi's heart. You felt my strength, haven't you? If I make even one mistake, my blade will slit your throat and sever your arteries. No, 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 it might even pierce your heart, leaving you to suffer a long, agonizing death. And you're quite strong. I might not be able to kill you with a single blow. I might sever your legs, and you'll crawl desperately on the ground, fighting for your life, while I slowly catch up to you step by step, piercing your body with my dagger and pinning you to the ground. When Mikami's words reached Kurasuke Ryuichi's ears, the scene described in Mikami's words involuntarily appeared in Kurasuke Ryuichi's mind. His breathing became more rapid involuntarily, and the veins on his forehead gradually bulged. Damn it, I can't fall for it. He's trying to distract me. The more he says that, the more it shows he's bluffing and that he's not as strong as he seems. Kurasuke Ryuichi bit his lower lip hard, drawing blood, and the pain and sticky blood brought him some calm. Chapter 23, Rinka. I didn't expect him to be so good at handling pressure. After my Shu had said dozens of words, the other party still hadn't appeared. He curled his lip, and the mockery in his voice became even stronger. Hey, hey, you're neither fighting nor leaving. Are you waiting for me to throw bones at you? Besides, at your age, maintaining this level of hidden mist technique must be draining your chakra rapidly. How long can you hold out? I'm only using the most basic water clone technique. My chakra is plentiful. As a ninja without chakra, you're just an ordinary person. Killing you will be as easy as killing a chicken. Aren't you going to give it your all now? As soon as my Shu finished speaking, three figures appeared in the mist. Three black-clad Ryuichi rushed towards my Shu and his two clones, shouting, "Damn bastard, shut up." Ha, using clones as cover. Useless. Momori glanced at him briefly, then decisively abandoned Kurasuke Ryuichi, who was rushing towards him, and charged to the right. The one on the right, Ryuichi Kurasuge, with lightning flashing on his legs, must be the real Kurasuge. Kurasuke Ryuichi is indeed quite strong, but he is still young. Mikami doesn't believe that the opponent's fragile water clone is also capable of using the chakra stimulation technique. If the opponent's water clones are this powerful, then Misato should have run away. Behind him, the water clones fought against the water clones. Mikami's short sword thrust straight at him. Kurasuke Ryuichi was surprised to see his main body exposed so quickly, but he reacted quickly. He swung his long sword horizontally and used the blade to block the tip of Mikami's sword. What a great power! Ryuichi Kurasuke was so shocked by the impact that he couldn't help but take 2 steps back, clearly not expecting that Mikami's strength was so much greater than his own. The attack failed, and Kurasuke Ryuichi waved his hand and shot out 3 shuriken in an attempt to slow down Mikami's pursuit, while he took the opportunity to escape into the fog. This time, you won't get away. Misato quickly formed hand seals. Wind release. Great breakthrough. A strong gust of wind was exhaled from Mikami's mouth, instantly sweeping away the fog and shuriken in front of him. Just as Kurasuke Ryuichi turned around, he heard the noise behind him and was about to turn around again when he was hit by a strong gust of wind. He was thrown about like a rag doll and finally fell to the ground. Having unleashed his ninjutsu, before the wind could dissipate, Mikami gave chase and seeing Kurasuke Ryuichi about to get up, killed him instantly. How do you know wind release? Lying in a pool of blood, Ryuichi Kurasuke was filled with resentment and voiced his doubts before dying. Meanwhile, Yamori, who had been spouting nonsense during the battle, remained silent, silently confirming Ryuichi Kurasuke's death. As the fog gradually dissipated, my Shu looked around at his surroundings but did not move. Instead, he looked at a patch of dense grass. You haven't left or attacked for so long. What is your purpose? Have you fallen in love with me? If so, you'd better be a beautiful woman. The grass rustled, and a brown-eyed girl with green eyes stood up, raising her hands. She looked like a well-behaved girl, and her voice carried a hint of coquettishness. Don't kill me. I was just passing by. I didn't see you kill Kurasuke Ryuichi and the other 2. My Shu looked the other person up and down and found that he was quite cute, especially his chubby face, which made people want to pinch it. Since the other person was so cute, Miss Hu stopped talking nonsense and only said one sentence. Roll. Hearing my Shu's kind and gentle words, the girl's face turned red with anger, her nostrils flared, and her fists clenched tightly. My Shu thought she was going to attack him, so he was on high alert, silently gripping his short sword, his eyes unconsciously glancing at her fair neck and flat chest. Just a second before my Shu launched his attack, the girl got angry and shouted in embarrassment, "I'm not leaving." As a rising star in the family, Rinko is doted on by her elders and is the focus of attention in her class. She had fought, been injured, and suffered defeats, but she had never been ignored or humiliated. So, as if in a fit of pique, she stood there, determined to stick with you, her eyes filled with stubbornness. Court death. Mikami charged forward with a blood-stained dagger, radiating murderous intent. Rinko was taken aback and had no time to dodge before being killed. Water substitution jutsu. That's incredibly fast. Rinko's body transformed into a puddle of clear water, and her true form appeared on a small lake not far away. There are quite a few strong students in this class. Zabuza was able to kill them all. Is he really that strong? Perhaps the truly skilled ones have all graduated early, leaving only the weaker ones, which is why we need to wipe them all out. Assessing Zabuza's fighting strength, Momori knew this girl was no ordinary person and didn't want to fight her to the death, so he turned to leave. However, he stopped after taking only a few steps, turned around and looked behind him. Sure enough, he saw the girl following him, and he frowned. Life is so beautiful, why do you have to seek death? Rinko stood a dozen steps away from Mikami, looking at him with some annoyance, and then she laughed, revealing her white teeth. Haha, go ahead and kill me if you dare. Haha, I love seeing you angry. How dare you insult me? I won't let you get away with this. It's haunting me. My Shu didn't want to be entangled with someone whose strength and motives were unclear. It was like holding a ticking time bomb. So he decided to eliminate the potential threat. Exhaling, he gently swung the short sword twice, fully stretching all the muscles in his body. Suddenly, he burst out with energy, rushing his entire body to the girl's side at lightning speed and slashed the short sword down from above. You're very capable, but I'm not weak either. Rinko was surprised by Momori's speed, which actually created a whistling sound, but her physical skills were also good. She retreated and dodged continuously. Although she had no chance to counterattack, she was not injured. In a short period of time, Mai Shu launched more than a dozen attacks, but all of them failed. Compared to Taijutsu, Rinko's ninjutsu is stronger. She seizes an opportunity to retreat suddenly, quickly forming hand seals. Water release, water chaos waves. Rinko spewed out a large stream of water, which hit Mikami, who was not far away. Mikami immediately retreated to avoid it. Misato stood on the grass, water flowing around him, forming a shallow pool. Where is she? Miss Hu looked up and found that the place where the girl had been standing was empty. At that moment, a voice came from behind Miss Hu. Water release, water prison technique. As the girl's voice rang out, the surrounding water quickly formed a circular prison, enveloping my shoe. Rinko plunged one hand into the water prison, her breathing slightly rapid. With her chakra reserves, using 2 ninjutsu consecutively was indeed a bit of a stretch, but it was all worth it. Gotcha, let's see how arrogant you can be now. Rinko looked at Momori, who was quietly lying in the water dungeon without struggling, and smiled brightly. The combined tactic of water chaos and water prison technique was one of her proudest achievements some time ago, and even the elders of her family praised it repeatedly. Now, using this against a ninja trainee would be a piece of cake. Inside the water dungeon, the air was scarce, and after a short while, my shoe would lose the ability to resist due to lack of oxygen. However, life script is full of twists and turns. Goodbye, little girl. The sharp blade was pointed directly at Rinko's neck. Chapter 20, 4 Takano Brothers. Whoosh whoosh. Several shurikens were thrown at my shoe. Why is killing someone so complicated? My shoe frowned, feeling helpless, and could only sheathe his sword and retreat. At this moment, Rinko finally realized what had happened and felt a chill run down her spine as she recalled the life-or-death moment. She would have really died if no one had come to her rescue. In the past, relying on the favor of her elders and her great talent, she never encountered any peers who could kill her and never experienced the fear of facing death. This feeling stunned her for a moment, and she didn't retaliate immediately. Misato remained vigilant against the hidden attackers and did not make a move. At that moment, a figure jumped down from the treetop and stood next to Rinko with a striking head of short white hair. Hey, Rinko, you almost died just now. I'm your savior. You should thank me properly. Why don't you marry me when you grow up? The newcomer was a slender young man who spoke in a somewhat exaggerated tone. He greeted Rinko in a familiar manner, but his eyes were fixed on Mikami, clearly wary of Mikami's strength and not daring to let his guard down. Naoto Hazuki, do you want to be my enemy? When my shoe saw the appearance of the person who came, his mood became heavier, and he wondered whether he should find an opportunity to make a strategic retreat. Naoto Hazuki is a member of the Hazuki clan, a powerful family in Kirigakura. He is also a classmate of Yamori and possesses great strength. His relationship with Yamori is neither good nor bad. The Hazuki clan is extremely skilled in water-style ninjutsu, especially their secret water transformation technique, which grants them immunity to physical attacks and gives them a significant advantage against most ninjas. Mimori felt that he wasn't afraid of Hazuki Naoto in a one-on-one fight, but his opponent had a strong companion, so the fight would be quite risky. Besides, this isn't a battle we absolutely have to fight, so why take the risk? Although he intended to retreat, my shoe's face was full of murderous intent. He leaned forward slightly, raised his short sword, and assumed a posture of fighting to the death, without revealing his true intentions. No, 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 I don't want to fight you. I still need to live to grow up, start a family, and build a career. I'm just concerned about my fiancée's safety. Naoto shook his head, looking like he didn't want to fight. At this moment, Rinko had regained her composure and spat at Naoto. Pa, don't even dream about it. I'll never marry you. Then Rinko looked at Mikami, her eyes brimming with murderous intent. I will kill you today. My shoe remained unfazed, raising an eyebrow. You! Heh, it would be your honor to die by my blade. Before he could finish speaking, Mimori launched the first attack, his target Rinko. Not far away, two teenagers witnessed this scene and were completely stunned. How is that possible? Both the Hazuki family and the Terumi family are powerful clans with bloodline limits. He has no chance of winning at all. These guys with bloodline limits can achieve more in one day of training than we do in a year. They deserve to die. My shoe is doomed. Shall we make a move? I've long disliked these family signs, so of course I have to take action. These two boys, named Hiroshi Takano and Ishii Takano, are brothers and classmates of Mimori. As descendants of ordinary people, they possessed very little talent and strength, and were frequently ridiculed and bullied in the Ninja Academy, which implemented a ruthless policy. They simply endured it silently, trained hard, and didn't feel there was anything wrong with it. The world is a dog-eat-dog world, and they don't resent it. They're even somewhat numb to it. However, after school that day, they were beaten by Kaguya Tadahira, a classmate from the Kaguya clan. They both fell to the ground, supporting each other as they endured Kaguya Tadahira's insults. At that moment, a loud voice rang out. Hey, you prematurely grey-haired bastard, I heard you wanted to challenge me. Now that I have some free time, I'll generously grant you a crushing defeat. The visitor was none other than my shoe. What followed was a brutal battle. Kaguya Tadahira's limbs were all broken, and he lay on the ground like a lump of mud, his body convulsing. I heard you guys have really hard bones, but you're nothing special. You're not even as good as a dog bone. In the alley, Mimori turned and left. He wasn't tall, but his shadow grew longer and longer in the setting sun, stretching out in front of the Takano brothers. They never expected that Kaguya Tadahira, who possessed a bloodline limit, would be so wantonly toyed with by Yamori right before their eyes. I heard his name is Mikami, and he is an orphan whose father was just a commoner genin. How could he be so powerful? If only we were that strong. Don't daydream. If he really has a bright future, it will be the greatest blessing for us to follow him if he even looks up to us. From that day on, the Takano brothers kept a close eye on Yamori's every move. As Yamori defeated one powerful clan member after another and became a rising star in the class, their desire to join his side grew stronger. Now is the best opportunity to exchange loyalty for protection, so that we can go further. And, having made up their minds, the Takano brothers drew their weapons and concealed themselves as they moved toward the battlefield. At this moment, my shoe stood on a tree branch, holding a knife in his right hand and touching his chest with his left. The clothes on her chest were torn, revealing long cuts in the skin underneath, and her left hand was stained with blood. In the past 10 seconds or so, a fierce battle broke out between the two sides. Miyu's combat principle was very simple: to attack first and then retreat, and to launch a fierce attack on Rinko, who was short of chakra. Rinko's taijutsu is inferior to Mikami's, and because she lacks chakra, she cannot use powerful ninjutsu, so she is frequently in danger. Hazuki Naoto has to frequently rescue Rinko, which reduces the intensity of his attacks on Mikami. However, Rinko and Hazuki Naoto had excellent basic skills and good family education, so their strength was not weak. In a 2-on-1 situation, Mikami was in danger several times and suffered several wounds. You've put enough pressure on them. It's time to leave. Mimori glanced at the wound on Rinko's arm, then at Hazuki Naoto, who was panting, and felt a little unwilling. Despite their combined efforts, the five of them couldn't defeat two descendants of ninja clans who weren't even characters from the anime. They were truly mediocre. Having a bloodline that grants you superpowers is truly amazing. This final blow will show you my strongest move. Mikami raised his short sword as a show of force before retreating. Rinko and Kaguya Naoto were startled, not expecting Mikami to have a trump card, and could only be on high alert. Go. Kindness. Who are they? Just before Mimori retreated, he suddenly heard some noises, looked up sharply, and saw two figures running among the trees, heading straight for Rinko and Hazuki Naoto. Their stealth and ambush techniques are terrible. Are they trying to steal kills? Could it be bait? Are there any other enemies around? Faced with the sudden situation, my shoe decided to remain still and observe further to avoid falling into a trap. Slightly slower than Mikami, Rinko and Kaguya Naoto also discovered a new enemy, feeling somewhat flustered and wondering if this was Mikami's arrangement. Naoto Hazuki shouted, "Let's go." He cleaved Takano Shirahiro, who was charging towards him, with a single slash, then threw a smoke bomb, using the smoke as cover to take Rinko away. Chapter 25, Home Delivery. Mimori watched Rinko and Hazuki Naoto leave without giving chase, silently observing the surroundings and remaining wary of the Takano brothers who might appear. Takano brothers, what are your intentions? Do you also want to occupy the high ground of the hills? The Takano brothers put away their weapons and went to the tree where Mikami was hiding, where they actually knelt down on one knee. Hiroshi Takano, the older brother, said, "We hope to follow you and gain your protection through loyalty." The younger brother, Takano Ishia, said sincerely, "We can act as bait. We can do anything dangerous. If you feel that we are a burden, you can abandon us at any time." Hearing their words, my shoe was very surprised. After a 2-second silence, he said, "I am just a student at the Ninja Academy. I am not even a ninja. There is no benefit for you to join me." Takano Hiroshi said, "Lord Mikami, we are weak and insignificant. If we don't rely on you, we probably won't even survive to graduate. Besides, you trampled those noble families underfoot without any family resources to support you. You must be a true genius and will achieve great things in the future." Mikami observed the expressions of the Takano brothers and slowly said, "Today, in order to survive, you can rely on me. Tomorrow, in order to survive, you can also rely on others and betray me." Kono Seki firmly stated, "Time will prove our loyalty. We are self-aware that we have very little talent as ninjas, and our only asset is our loyalty." He remained silent. This is the living environment of Kirigakura. Due to the shortage of resources, everyone competes with each other, seeks refuge with each other, and fights with each other. The strong are even more unscrupulous, and everyone is used to obeying the strong. Seeing that Mikami did not respond, the Takano brothers were very uneasy. My shoe's decision will determine their future. Mikami initially wanted to refuse, but considering the harsh living conditions in Kirigakura, he thought it wouldn't hurt to find a couple of pawns. So he said, "If you follow me, you must obey my orders. Remember your words. Your only valuable possession is loyalty." "Yes." The Takano brothers responded excitedly, and the three of them left the place and found a secluded spot to rest. The battle had taken a toll on Mimori, and he needed to eat something to replenish his energy. The Takano brothers conscientiously got busy, setting up warning lines, installing traps, and standing guard. During this time, my Shu remained vigilant towards the two, paying attention to their every move and keeping a distance of 2 or 3 steps. He also ate only his own food to avoid any mishaps. During the break, Mikami also took the time to learn about his subordinates' abilities. What ninjutsu do you know, and what are your special skills? The Takano brothers exchanged a glance, somewhat ashamed. We only know the three-body technique, but our stamina is all right. Ha ha, without any family tradition, all I can do is train my physical fitness. My physical strength is all right, but only all right. At best, I won't hold anyone back, but I'm definitely not outstanding. What equipment do you have? We have 4 kunai, some shuriken, a bottle of poison, and 2 smoke bombs. The Takano brothers were very conscientious. They opened their knife kit and laid out the items one by one to prove that they were not lying. My Shu glanced at it, shook his head helplessly. They were really poor. All of this together wasn't even worth as much as his short sword. After resting for half an hour, the sky was already showing signs of sunset, and my Shu stood up. Let's go and arrive at our destination before dark. For the next half hour, they encountered no one else and successfully reached the slightly flatter hills. After setting up a perimeter, the Takano brothers lit a campfire as bait, while Mikami lay in ambush in the darkness. The next day, the three of them gathered together under the shade of a tree. Mimori picked up a branch and drew the outline of the island on the ground, marking the location of the hills. This is the island map, and this is our location. We have 2 options now. One is to defend, use the terrain here to kill the invading enemies, and then board the ship in 4 days. Secondly, we should launch an attack, using this place as the center, and gradually expand the hunting area outwards. Once we kill the people, we will be safe. Hiroshi Takano said, "You decide. We will obey orders." Hey hey. My Shu laughed, his light blue eyes flashing with dazzling light, and raised the short sword in his hand. Being born in the cruel hidden mist village is our misfortune. The only thing that can cut through misfortune is the sword in our hands. Killing 1 person makes you a murderer. Killing 10,000 makes you a hero. We have no choice at all. Besides, our boat is so small, it was already crowded when we came, and I don't want to have to endure it again when we go back. Kanoshi said quite consciously, "We are not strong enough, so we can be used as bait." My Shu nodded with satisfaction. Then let's set off. I remember some of my classmates' families are wealthy. Maybe we can capture some equipment, and even if we don't use it, we can sell it to make money. Making money is great. Hey hey. Hearing that there was money to be made, the Takano brothers became even more excited. There's no way around it. Education costs a lot. Their parents work overtime every day just to be able to afford the education of their 2 children. In the days that followed, the 3 of them transformed into compasses, drawing circles around their base and gradually extending their hunting range. In the woods, the Gao brothers' trash talk echoed incessantly, their sarcasm reaching a fever pitch. Oh dear, this year's students are no good. They can take down kids with a single slash. There's no sense of accomplishment at all. That's right, the Hazuki clan and the Kaguya clan. They can only grovel before us in order to survive. At this rate, my knife will be corroded by the blood. Okay, let's kill another 60 people, and when we have 100, we'll rest for an hour. Everyone who discovers the Takano brothers, seeing them strolling unguarded in the jungle, can't help but attack, only to be killed by Yamori in return. Of course, some people felt that taking a step back would open up a whole new world and wanted to retreat, but their concealment skills were not up to par, and they were discovered and killed by Misato. Within 2 days, they achieved a total of 10 kills and captured some equipment and supplies. The Takano brothers also suffered some injuries. Takano Ishii was all right, only minor cuts and bruises, but Takano Hiroshi was more unlucky, as he was struck in the groin by someone who had just given him a fatal blow, piercing his thigh muscle and needing proper treatment. With many people around him killed and prey scarce and hard to find, my Shu decided to rest for a day and give the prey a chance to replenish their supplies. On the fifth day, just as my Shu was about to launch another attack, he discovered that his prey had been delivered to his door. The sun is shining brightly, and the prey is growing strong. That's wonderful. My Shu looked up at the blue sky and white clouds, and drew his well-maintained short sword. If you survive this time, I will truly take you under my wing and make you stronger. Looking at the dozen or so enemies ahead, Mikami gave a message to the Takano brothers behind him. In any case, as long as they can hold on in the battle, they can share the burden of my Shu. If they run away and die, then so be it. Everything in this world comes at a price, and we will fight with all our might. Hiroshi Takano gripped the kunai tightly with both hands, his voice trembling slightly, but he showed no intention of backing down. He was prepared to die in battle, as long as his brother could survive. Chapter 26, Killing Two People. The person who led the attack on Mikami was none other than Kaguya Tadahira, whose limbs had been broken by Mikami. Since the day his limbs were broken, Kaguya Tadahira suffered a major blow to both his body and mind, and the mental anguish tormented him even more than the physical pain. The Kaguya clan is brave and fierce, and they despise the weak. When they see Kaguya Tadahira being defeated by someone they consider insignificant, they don't think that Mikami is that strong. They only despise Kaguya Tadahira for being too weak. Especially later, when Kaguya Tadahira's older brother, Kaguya Teppei, sought revenge against Yamori, he was defeated once again. The brothers became a laughing stock in the family, suffering countless taunts and humiliations every day. Those humiliations were like sharp spears, piercing Kaguya Tadahira's heart with countless holes. As a result, Kaguya Tadahira's resentment towards Mikami grew daily. From then on, Kaguya Tadahira underwent self-torture-like training, and every night when she slept, she dreamed of tearing Mikami to pieces. When he learned about this training, he had already gone to great lengths to kill my Shu. Knowing he might not be a match for my Shu, he prepared some money and equipment and recruited some companions. These days, these people are also killing people everywhere. People you usually dislike, or people you already have grudges against, can now settle their scores and grievances. They now outnumber and outgun their enemies, killing more and more people and becoming completely accustomed to the act and feeling of killing. This is the purpose and value of this training. During the past few days of hunting, Kaguya Tadahira kept inquiring about the whereabouts of Yagami. Later, he learned Yagami's location from a prisoner and was very excited. He immediately led his men to attack. Ha ha ha, now that all three of you are here, it saves me the trouble of searching for you one by one. We can deal with you all at once. Especially you, my Shu. I will repay you 100-fold for what you did to me. Kaguya Tadahira looked at Mikami, her heart filled with intense emotions. A mix of feelings, intense hatred, painful memories, and the exhilaration of finally getting revenge, made her face tremble slightly. So that's my Shu. I heard you guys were all beaten up by him. Tusk, you look so ordinary. You guys are really weak. Among Kaguya Tadahira's group were people from other classes who didn't know Mikami. Now that they saw that Mikami wasn't tall and mighty, nor did he have 3 heads and 6 arms, they started mocking the few people who had been taught a lesson by Mikami. One of Momori's classmates recalled that painful experience and couldn't help but rub his stomach, as if the spot where Momori had once beaten him was still aching. He then angrily cursed the person who had mocked him. Idiot, he's not one of those weaklings we've encountered, but a man-eating tiger. If you don't want to get killed, don't be careless. This statement resonated with many people, especially my shoe's classmates, who were on high alert. That's right, be careful. He was extremely ruthless at school, and now that he's capable of killing, he definitely won't hold back. We must attack with all our might, and not give him any chance to turn the tide. If we don't kill him, none of us will survive. Seeing how serious they were making it sound, the others also stopped being dismissive, but their thoughts were all different. Some people were arrogant and resentful to see so many people fearing my shoe. They planned to kill my shoe later to show everyone their strength. Some people glanced around, observing their surroundings, preparing to wait a while and let others fight my shoe first, while they would adapt to the situation. Some people, however, had no particular thoughts. They had become addicted to killing these past few days and just wanted to see scenes of blood splattering everywhere. My shoe stood on the rock, his eyes darting around, carefully observing the enemy's positions, expressions, weapons, and equipment, rapidly gathering and analyzing intelligence in his mind in order to formulate appropriate tactics, while on the surface he was very arrogant. Facing the enemy ahead, Mikami raised his short sword and made a light slash from left to right, his expression one of pure joy, his voice booming. I was just thinking of killing someone today, and you brought me the head. I'm very grateful, so I'll accept it without hesitation. As he spoke, Mikami deliberately glanced at Kaguya Tadahira's limbs, which once again stirred up Kaguya Tadahira's painful memories. Kaguya Tadahira was furious. She gritted her teeth and spat out the words, "Kill him." Immediately, Kaguya Tadahira charged out first, wielding bone spikes, and the others followed suit. Seeing that the enemy outnumbered him, Mikami knew that if he were surrounded and focused on, he would not fare well either. So instead of retreating, he advanced and charged toward the enemy's left flank, ignoring the menacing Kaguya Tadahira. Although the terrain here is relatively flat, it is still part of the hills, with undulating terrain and many rocks, trees, and grass, which provide good cover and shelter. My shoe planned to take advantage of these terrain features and divide the battlefield into several smaller battlefields through mobile warfare, preventing the enemy from forming an encirclement. He would then defeat the enemy piecemeal through mobile warfare. This is the helplessness of not being strong enough. If he had enough strength, he could just stand still and output damage, which would be really awesome. Let's go too. Seeing Momori launch his attack, Takano Hiroshi glanced at his younger brother, his eyes filled with worry and reluctance, but even more so with determination. Knowing his own weakness and that he wouldn't be able to hold out for long, he resolutely charged towards the center where the enemy was the most numerous. He was already prepared to die, trying to hold off as many enemies as possible to buy time for my shoe to kill, and also to give his younger brother a better chance of survival. Big brother. Looking at his elder brother's retreating figure, Takano Ishii knew his brother's feelings. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he grabbed his weapon and rushed towards the enemy's right flank. Some of the enemy knew the Takano brothers and told those around them that the Takano brothers were very weak and not worth taking seriously. However, they did not expect that the two brothers were so fearless that they would trade wounds for wounds and lives for lives. Faced with this reckless fighting style, the enemy was momentarily thrown into disarray. The Takano brothers successfully held off 4 or 5 enemies, relieving the pressure on Yamori. My shoe's fighting style is efficient and ruthless, with no superfluous movements. Every move is aimed at the opponent's vital points, and he quickly killed 3 people in a row. The first victim was a chubby boy. He didn't know much about my shoe's strength. When he saw my shoe rushing towards him, he thought that his companion was right next to him. He thought that as long as he could hold off my shoe for a few seconds, he could get support from his companion and then kill my shoe. In short, the chubby boy felt that he had the upper hand and shouldn't be afraid. Then the chubby boy felt my shoe's powerful strength. The kunai in his hand was knocked away. Then my shoe twisted his wrist slightly, and the blade sliced through half an arc, easily cutting open the chubby boy's throat. The chubby boy clutched his throat with both hands, blood gushing from between his fingers, and collapsed with his eyes wide open. The second victim was right next to the chubby boy. He originally wanted to help the chubby boy attack my shoe, but he was shocked to find that my shoe killed the chubby boy in one move. At that moment, he had already thrust out a kunai with his right hand, and it was too late to change his move. Mikami first severed his right arm, and then his head. The third victim, seeing my shoe kill two people in a row, was afraid and dared not fight my shoe in close combat. He turned around and tried to create distance, but my shoe threw a short knife directly at him. The knife pierced through his chest, and the victim fell to the ground. Chapter 27: The Furnace. Seeing that my shoe had killed 3 people in the blink of an eye, the enemies were shocked and stopped in their tracks. My shoe took a step forward, stepped on the corpse with his left foot, drew his short sword with his right hand, and without saying a word, took advantage of the enemy's hesitation and charged forward again. At this moment, the enemy was awakened and surrounded my shoe, each of them being extremely cautious to avoid being instantly killed by my shoe. Kaguya Tadahira was also surprised by Mikami's strength. He already had a psychological shadow over Mikami, and now that he saw that his group couldn't defeat Mikami in a short time, and that the Takano brothers were holding back a few people, he began to make a plan. Since Mikami is too difficult to defeat, let's kill the Takano brothers first. Firstly, he harbored resentment towards the Takano brothers and could kill them to avenge them. Secondly, by killing the Takano brothers, everyone could concentrate their efforts on attacking Mikami. After considering his options, Kaguya Tadahira did not pursue Mikami, but instead rushed behind Takano Hiroshi and launched a sneak attack with bone spikes. Takano Hiroshi was facing 3 enemies at this time. He was already on the verge of defeat and had several wounds on his body. He was only able to maintain a stalemate for the time being because of his determination to fight to the death. Therefore, when faced with Kaguya Tadahira's sneak attack, Takano Hiroshi was killed before he could even react. Big brother. Hearing his brother's screams, Takano Ishii turned around and saw Takano Hiroshi lying in a pool of blood. Overwhelmed with grief and anger, he charged directly at the enemy in front of him, wanting to die together with him. Unfortunately, Kanoshi was not strong enough, and there were too many enemies. He failed to kill any of them and was instead stabbed in the stomach by a long sword, and he fell down as well. The 2 bastards are dead. Now the enemy is only Shimomi no Kami. If you help me kill him, there will be even more benefits when we go back. Kaguya Tadahira was furious to see that some people were intimidated by Mikami's imposing presence and hesitated to fight, even slacking off during the battle. However, since they could only rely on them now, he promised them more benefits, which strengthened their resolve and led them to launch a full-scale attack. These people had all undergone ninja training and had been killing people together in the past few days. They were able to coordinate with each other and were no longer distracted. Their attack was very methodical. They not only surrounded my shoe, but also positioned themselves at varying distances, with some engaging in close combat, others launching projectiles, some restraining others, and still others using ninjutsu. In particular, Kaguya Tadahira took the lead, relying on her strong bones to closely follow Mikami without attacking rashly, but only delaying Mikami's movement speed and agility, providing opportunities for others. My shoe exerted all his strength, maneuvering through the gaps in the enemy's defenses. Although he managed to kill several people, he was greatly exhausted. He had no foresight and couldn't see where everyone was moving, so he only reacted when many attacks were close by, making it impossible for him to dodge them all. He could only avoid fatal attacks, but he couldn't dodge some non-fatal ones, so his injuries gradually increased, especially the severe injuries on his back and shoulders, which caused him to bleed profusely. Although I killed 7 or 8 people, there are still 8 or 9 enemies left. My stamina and chakra are greatly depleted. If I continue fighting like this, I will die sooner or later. I have no choice but to retreat. Thinking of this, Mikami suddenly sprang into action and slashed powerfully at Kaguya Tadahira in front of him. Kaguya Tadahira was shocked and immediately raised his bone spike to block, but he felt a tremendous force coming from the bone spike. He could not resist it and could only retreat a few steps. Having forced Kaguya Tadahira back, Momori sidestepped a shuriken attack from the right, slashed horizontally with his short sword, and killed an enemy who had overshot his charge. He then created a small gap in the encirclement and fled with all his might. Kaguya Tadahira was taken aback when she saw Mikami flee. She hadn't expected that Mikami, who had just displayed such great power, would suddenly run away. Then she was overjoyed and shouted for everyone to give chase. "Quick, chase him. He's exhausted. Kill him." Kaguya Tadahira's tone was filled with joy. Seeing Mikami's disheveled figure, Kaguya Tadahira felt the gloom in his heart vanish. The weight that had been pressing down on him for so long lifted off his feet, and his body felt incredibly light. He suddenly increased his pursuit speed by 2 points, while also making a lot of provocative remarks. "Heh heh, my shoe, weren't you so arrogant? Don't try to run away if you dare." Seeing victory in sight, the others gave chase without hesitation. This chase lasted for more than 10 minutes. Mikami's speed slowed down, and the distance between them got closer and closer. Seeing this, Kaguya Tadahira became even more anxious and chased even harder. Emerging from a patch of lush grass, a cave appeared ahead. The cave is about 3 or 4 meters wide and high, and 20 or 30 meters deep. It is not spacious, and during the day you can see the end of it from the outside. When Mikami saw the cave, he rushed in. The pursuers hesitated for a moment, worried that there might be a trap inside, and stopped. However, Kaguya Tadahira was eager for revenge and tried her best to persuade him to leave. "Look at this cave. It's not very big. You can see the situation inside at a glance. It's not suitable for setting traps at all. It's just that my shoe was desperate and rushed in because he saw that we were about to catch up with him." As she spoke, Kaguya Tadahira said directly, "If you're not comfortable with this, I'll lead the way and you can just follow me. If there's a trap, you can always retreat." Someone looked at the cave and said, "This cave doesn't seem to have any other exit. Why don't we just wait here and be trapped here forever?" Upon hearing this, Kaguya Tadahira cursed, "Idiot! The cave is dark, and you can only see the general outline. How do you know there's no other exit? Even if there isn't, how long would it take to trap Mikami? This training is almost over. There's no time to waste." After a brief analysis, everyone still chased after them into the cave. At first they were a little cautious, but there were no other traps in the cave except for some dry grass and trees, so they gradually felt at ease. Soon my shoe reached the end of the cave. In front of him was a mountain wall. There were no other companions around, so he could only turn around and face the pursuers. Kaguya Tadahira and the others caught up. Seeing that Mikami had nowhere to escape, they felt relieved. Kaguya Tadahira looked fierce and clenched his fist. "My shoe, killing you is too easy for you. I will break your bones inch by inch and make you wish you were dead." My shoe showed no fear of death. Instead, he looked at everyone with disdain and sneered. "A bunch of damn brats. Today I'm going to give you warmth and melt your cold hearts." The crowd didn't understand what my shoe meant and thought he might have gone mad. But then they saw my shoe form a hand seal and turn into smoke, which greatly surprised them. "What kind of ninjutsu is this? It seems to be some kind of clone technique, but I've never seen it before. When did Mikami use this ninjutsu? Oh no, this is a trap. We have to get out of here." At this moment, they realized the danger and retreated rapidly, trying to rush out of the cave. But as soon as they turned around, they saw a person standing at the cave entrance, none other than my shoe. "Fire release. Great fireball technique. My shoe formed hand seals, expending a large amount of chakra, and opened his mouth to spit out a large fireball. The fireball landed and immediately ignited the dry vegetation in the cave, turning the entire cave into a blazing furnace with a rapidly rising temperature. Damn it, how does he know this kind of ninjutsu? Seeing that their escape route was blocked by a sea of fire, Kaguya Tadahira looked incredulous. But the flames were about to engulf them, and no one cared about such a problem. Survival was the priority. Some people were more ruthless, gritting their teeth and saying, "These fires look fierce, but if you just rush through them, you might survive." That's right, Charge. Rush. Between life and death, there was no time to hesitate. These people risked rushing directly into the flames, hoping to survive. As for whether they would be burned to death, and how to deal with my shoe after breaking through the sea of fire, they no longer had time to consider those questions. Chapter 20. 8 Minato Namikaze's Teachings. Mikami learned both shadow clone technique and fireball technique from Kyosuke, who in turn learned them from Minato Namikaze through persistent pestering. In the past few days, in order to help Misaki safely pass the combat training, Kyosuke and the other three have really done their best. Not only do they strengthen their training every day, practicing ninjutsu such as shadow clone technique and great fireball technique, but they also hold meetings at night to analyze the situation and formulate plans. This cave was the site of their elaborate plan to wipe out their entire family, intended as a backup plan for my shoe. Since it's a plan to wipe out the entire family, of course, there's no way to save them. My shoe released the great fireball, feeling a huge depletion of chakra within him. He was breathing rapidly and extremely exhausted, but he still forced himself to continue forming hand seals. Earth release, rock collapse technique. The rock collapse technique originated from Yokura, the master of Chisuke Tasaka. After it was used, the mountain at the cave exit began to collapse, with rocks of all sizes falling continuously, forming a thick barrier that completely blocked the way out. Do not. Kaguya Tadahiro and the others risked their lives to rush out of the flames. Their clothes were set on fire and their skin was burned, but compared to the rocky barrier in front of them, no one cared about their injuries. They had completely lost their way to survive. After doing all this, my shoe was extremely weak. He slowly sat down against the mountain wall, breathing heavily, with only his right hand still tightly gripping the short sword. After resting for a while, Memori regained some strength and stood up to check on the Takano brothers. Actually, for safety reasons, my shoe should leave immediately and find a secluded place to recuperate. After all, this battle involves a large number of people and is quite a commotion, which might attract other people. However, although my shoe is not a good person, he still has his bottom line. If you agree to something, then don't agree at all. If you agree, never go back on your word. If the Takano brothers are dead, there's nothing to say. But if they are lucky enough to survive, then Mikami should still be saved. When they arrived at the spot where the Takano brothers had fallen, Memori checked on them and found that Takano Hiroshi was dead, while Takano Ishii was luckier. Although he had suffered a serious abdominal injury, he was still alive. Memori carried Takano Ishii away quickly to a pre-prepared hiding place to treat his injuries and recover his strength. The following day, Mikami stayed in his hiding place and did not attack. Takano Ishii also woke up. After training ended, the two arrived at the beach. 5 days ago, there were more than 200 students here, but now there are only 80 or 90 people on the beach, and most of them are injured. Everyone's eyes are fierce, like wild beasts that want to devour people. I can't believe you survived. Kaguya Tadahira and the others are truly useless. While Memori was waiting for the ship to appear, Zabuza, Rinko, Hazuki Naoto, and others also appeared. Rinko even made a provocative remark, which only earned Memori a nonchalant glance. The current Yamori, having committed numerous killings, exudes a murderous aura. His glance is as if he is looking at a dead man. Hazuki Naoto is secretly alarmed by this and unconsciously pulls Rinko back a few steps, trying to ease the atmosphere. Hehe, we've all passed the training, so we should have a good meal when we get back. How about I treat everyone to dinner? These past few days, the most active people on the island have been Yamori, Zabuza, Rinko, and Hazuki Naoto. Hazuki Naoto's suggestion was also to bring the group closer together and build connections. As a member of a large family, Naoto Hazuki learned the importance of connections from a young age. Don't underestimate these kids now. In a few years, they might become the backbone of the village. Faced with this suggestion, Zabuza glanced at the others, especially at Yamori, and then silently left. Rinko snorted and said in a lecturing tone, "Naoto, you idiot, don't you even consider our relationship. They'll never agree to this." As soon as Rinko finished speaking, Momori said, "Okay, I want to eat meat. Prepare more money." Upon hearing Makami's words, Rinko nearly choked on her own tongue, glaring fiercely at him. "You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? You're just going to oppose me. Why not eat meat when there's meat to eat? Prices in Kirigakyo are even higher than in Konoha, and Makami wants to eat meat every day." Momori ignored Rinko and turned to look at the sea, where ships had already appeared. This attitude reignited Rinko's anger. Hazuki Naoto was a little surprised that Yamori readily agreed, but he still said, "Don't worry, we'll go to a yakiniku restaurant. You can eat whatever you want." As they spoke, the boat docked, and the tall figure of the watermelon pufferfish demon appeared at the bow. Looking at the student's transformation, he nodded in satisfaction and led them back to the village. On the ship, Suigetsu Hazuki listened to his subordinates' reports, learned about the situation on the island, and noted down several outstanding individuals, including Makami. At this moment in Konoha village, Minato Namikaze was instructing Kyosuke and his companions in their training. "Kyosuke, you have great talent and learn ninjutsu very quickly, but you are too eager to succeed. You just learned Shadow Clone Jutsu and haven't even mastered how to use it properly, yet you're already learning Fireball Jutsu. Now you want to learn new ninjutsu, which will bring many hidden dangers." Minato Namikaze originally had a lot to say, but seeing Kyosuke's humble demeanor and obedient student appearance, his tone unconsciously softened. "You need to understand that ninjutsu is just a means to an end. After learning a ninjutsu, you must thoroughly understand its principles and formulate appropriate tactics to unleash its full power. Right now, you're greedy for quantity. Even if you learn many ninjutsu, how many can you actually use in battle?" Kyosuke understood Minato Namikaze's meaning. In anime, many powerful characters only use a few ninjutsu in battle. For example, the protagonist Naruto's main attack method is to create Rasengan. He creates all kinds of Rasengan and still manages to defeat all kinds of enemies. It's not that they don't know other ninjutsu, it's just that there are only 24 hours in a day, so it's impossible for them to study all ninjutsu in depth. To use data from a game, it's impossible to raise the proficiency of every ninjutsu to the highest level, so they can only practice the ninjutsu that is most suitable for them. Feeling Minato's concern, Kyosuke sincerely admitted his mistake. "I understand, teacher. Because I was born a commoner, I long to master more and more powerful ninjutsu. Now that I think about it, I was indeed too impatient. From now on, I will solidify my foundation and live up to your expectations. I will definitely become a powerful ninja like you in the future." Look how well Kyosuke speaks. He not only reflects on his own mistakes, but also flatters Minato Namikaze. And these are Kyosuke's true feelings, without any trace of acting. Of course, Kyosuke's true desire is to become a strongman like Minato Namikaze. Minato Namikaze looked at Kyosuke's handsome appearance and liked him more and more. He was talented, good-looking, virtuous, and had a pleasant voice. Any normal person would like a student like this. Having pulled Kyosuke back from the wrong path, Minato Namikaze felt a great sense of accomplishment as a teacher and said with a smile, "Don't be so serious. It's normal for kids to want to learn powerful ninjutsu. I used to be like that too. I'm just reminding you not to get too obsessed." When the instruction ended and the group was about to part ways, Minato Namikaze hesitated for a moment, a rare shy expression appearing on his face, and said something. "Ah, well, I'd like to ask you for a favor." Chapter 29. Sold Minato Namikaze. What can we do to help Minato Namikaze? Kyosuke, Kakashi, and Noriko Hyuga exchanged glances, their eyes filled with deep confusion. After spending time together, they realized that although Minato Namikaze was a bit airheaded, his strength was unfathomable. If he couldn't solve the problem, what use would it be to ask the three of them, the genin, for help? Hyuga Noriko asked seriously, "Minato-sensei, what is it?" Seeing the three of them looking so serious, Minato Namikaze smiled awkwardly and waved his hands repeatedly, saying that there was no danger involved. It turns out that Kushina Uzumaki's birthday is coming up soon, and Minato Namikaze wants to prepare a perfect gift and then take the opportunity to confess his feelings. However, he was a bit shy and had some typical straight man traits, so he didn't know what to do and could only ask people he knew for advice. However, the advice from those around him was increasingly unreliable. For example, his teacher Jiraiya actually gave him 2 bath tickets, the kind for mixed-gender bathhouses, which made Minato Namikaze's face turn bright red. With Kushina's birthday drawing ever closer, and still no good ideas in sight, Minato Namikaze, in his desperation, even started asking Kyosuke and the other 2 children for advice. Minato Namikaze was clinging to a sliver of hope, thinking, what if? What if I come up with a good idea? Then I might be able to confess my feelings successfully. After hearing Minato's words, Kyosuke and the other 2 were speechless. They were just kids. How would they know how to pursue girls? No wonder everyone said that Minato-sensei was a bit of a ditz. Kyosuke smacked his lips, thinking to himself that he had run into Minato Namikaze and Kushina on the street before, and they seemed very close, like they were mutually attracted. It turned out they hadn't officially established a relationship yet. Minato Namikaze is quite dense emotionally. Even I, an outsider, can see that Kushina has feelings for you, yet you're still hesitant and uneasy. That makes sense, though. Minato Namikaze is only about 17 years old, so it's normal that he doesn't understand. Seeing that the 3 remained silent, Minato Namikaze adopted a somewhat ingratiating tone. "Nico, you're a girl, you're very perceptive. Try to think about what to do from a girl's perspective. Kakashi, you have the sharpest observation skills. Think about what the girls around you like the most. And you, Kyosuke, don't just stand there like you're watching a show. Even though you're handsome and might have someone chasing after you, you should think it over carefully. Consider it practice in advance, in case you need it when you're pursuing girls in the future." After Minato Namikaze finished speaking, Noriko opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. Kakashi remained silent, while Kyosuke could barely suppress the smile on his face. Helpless, Minato Namikaze resorted to his trump card. "Work hard, and I'll teach anyone who can help me with ninjutsu. Kyosuke, you want to learn the Rasengan, right? I can teach you. Kindness. I can learn the Rasengan." Upon hearing this, Kyosuke's eyes immediately lit up. He had wanted to learn the Rasengan for a long time, but Minato Namikaze felt that haste makes waste and wanted to wait until Kyosuke had digested the ninjutsu he was learning before teaching him the Rasengan. "HMPH, you just warned me not to bite off more than I can chew, and now you're contradicting yourself for love. Minato Namikaze, you're quite the hypocrite." With a whoosh, Kyosuke raised his hand, fearing that Noriko and Kakashi would beat him to it. Seeing Kyosuke almost jump up in excitement, Minato Namikaze's face darkened, and he glared at Kyosuke. Didn't you say you knew your mistakes, stopped being so impatient, and wanted to solidify your foundation? Kyosuke glared back. You said it was wrong to be greedy for quantity, but now you're trying to tempt me with ninjutsu. In the end, Kyosuke was the more shameless one. Minato Namikaze felt a little guilty and turned away with a darting look in his eyes. Do you have any good ideas? He, you two are already in sync. Any idea you have is a good idea. It's not difficult at all. This time it's like getting a racing gun for free. Kyosuke stood tall and proud, pointing out the flaws in the landscape with great confidence. Minato-sensei, how much preparation time do we have left? Minato Namikaze said, 3 more days. Kyosuke nodded confidently and said with certainty, that's enough. Now I'll assign tasks. Minato-sensei, go back and prepare the funds, then dress up nicely and improve your appearance. Noriko, go to the market. Don't miss any clothing stores, gift shops, toy stores, pet stores, or jewelry stores, and shortlist a batch of suitable gifts. Kakashi, scout the terrain and see if there are any beautiful, secluded, or romantic date spots around. Hearing that Kyosuke had made such a well-organized arrangement, Minato Namikaze perked up, feeling that this matter was quite reliable. Noriko, on the other hand, pointed at Kyosuke. We all have things to do. What are you doing? Are you going to supervise us? Of course, it's to slack off, and also to get closer to Kushina. Maybe I can learn sealing techniques in the future. Kyosuke thought to himself with delight, but said aloud, in our team, I'm the second most handsome guy after the teacher, so of course I have to chat with the teacher's wife and find out her hobbies and feelings. This is the key to this operation. If the teacher's wife doesn't like our gift, the teacher will be stuck with a bachelor. Minato Namikaze beamed with joy as Kyosuke addressed her as teacher's wife repeatedly.